Good morning. Good morning. It is currently 7:09 a.m. and of course today's date is the 24th of July 2025. How are you doing this beautiful morning? God is the greatest. Thank God for the gift of life. Yes, we are back for another early morning episode. First of all, I got to say it one more time. Thank God for the gift of life. Because without God, there would be no Genesis. Okay. There would be no Genesis show. Okay. I would not be here having this air in my lungs, and whatever voice I have would not exist without God. So I got to say, shout out to the King of Kings, the God of all, and the Father of all spirits. Okay. Shout out to God. All right. With that being said, America is blessed. God has blessed America. All right. America is the greatest country on the face of the earth. God made that possible, not man. All right. If you find yourself living in the United States, just know that you are blessed and you are highly favored. Do not forget that. You are blessed and highly favored. All right. Because a lot of people are trying to get into this country, are doing everything in their power to get into this country. All right. So be grateful that you are here. All right. And like I always say, it is country first before parties. Okay. You are not a Democrat first. You're not a Republican first. You are an American first before you are a Republican or a Democrat. All right. So show some love to your fellow friends and neighbors and American sisters and brothers because they're not your enemy. All right. You're not really different. All right. When you start having a conversation with your neighbors, you would understand that you guys are actually the same and you have a lot in common. So get to having these conversations, whether you are a blue blooded Democrat or red blooded Republican or independent or whatever you are. Start having a conversation with people, shake hands, introduce yourself, and listen to why people believe what they believe. All right. That's how we start the conversation. Okay. Now, with that being said, today we will be checking out the Commander in Chief, the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, delivers a remark and signs the executive order uh, at this artificial intelligence summit here. And after that, we're going to check out subsequently what is going on some very, uh, I would say, conservative cable networks. Yesterday, we checked out liberal network, which everybody knows, you know, the liberal networks like CNN. We were on CNN yesterday. So today we would check out the president, listen to him for about an hour, and then we would go over to the other networks and see what's going on around the United States. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Genesis Show. Be nice, be kind in the comment section, and have a good time. All right, here we go.
Thank you very much, everybody. What a great song that is, but we'll cut it a little short because we have some business to discuss. What a group of smart ones we have in front of me today. That's about as good as it comes up here, the brain power, the greatest power of them all, the brain power. Well, I'm thrilled to be here with so many tech leaders and luminaries as we take historic action to reassert the future which belongs to America, always has belonged to America. We just lost sight of it on occasion. And I just want to start by stating that we've just concluded our big trade deal with Japan and numerous other countries in addition, as you know. But on the Japan deal, because it was literally just signed, letter was just signed. It gives us a sort of signing bonus. So I'll bring it into sports talk, a signing bonus. Like you have signing bonuses too, I understand. Getting a lot of money, 100 million, that's not bad. But that's not as good as the signing bonus we got. We got a $550 billion signing bonus for the country. And we had the tariff at 25%. As you know, we had a tariff at 25%. And these are great people that we negotiated with, but we agreed to reduce it to 15 based on the fact that Japan has agreed for the first time ever to open up its country to trade so that all of our American businesses and business geniuses, including many in this room, can go out and do business openly and freely in Japan, a very rich and prosperous and profitable and wonderful country, frankly. And we will pay a zero tariff as we do business in Japan. So we're paying zero, they're paying 15. We're getting $550 billion. And to be exact, it's 90% of that, but we control the whole lot of it. And it's really been great. And they're very happy, and their stock market went up, and our stock market went up, and that's supposed to be the way it is. Ours went way up, and theirs went up. And we've made numerous other deals like that. But the opening up of a country is very important to us. We have numerous countries that have opened their doors, just made some incredible transactions, but we're going to have a very, very simple tariff for some of the countries. We have so many countries, you can't negotiate deals with everyone, so we'll have a straight, simple tariff of anywhere between 15 and 50%. A couple we have 15 because we haven't been getting along with those countries too well, so we just say, let's pay 50, and that's the way it is. But remember, we get countries that were closed, always closed. Everyone in this room would never remember any of them to be open. We've offered such a deal to the European Union, where we're in serious negotiations, and if they agree to open up the union to American businesses, then we will let them pay a lower tariff. So the tariff is very important, but the opening of a country, I think, can be more important if our businesses do the job that they're supposed to be doing. Such openings are worthy of many points in tariffs, and they're a good thing, not only for, as an example, Japan or Europe, but certainly a great thing for America because it allows our businesses to go out and fairly compete and do really well if they compete properly, like the people that I know. Everyone in this room practically I know has competed very successfully. I haven't seen any, and I know the losers just like I know the winners. I tell you, I don't see any of the losers here. But now if some of the countries that pay 25% or more on autos complain, remember that Japan was willing to pay upfront the $550 billion for that privilege of negotiating with the United States of America. We also made a deal yesterday with the Philippines and Indonesia, which in both cases will be opening up their country. And we're in the process of completing our deal with China. And as you know, the UK, we made a deal. It was a very good deal for everybody. Everybody's happy. It's always nice when everybody can be happy. But mostly we'll be charging straight tariffs to most of the rest of the world because we have over 200 countries. People don't realize that's a lot of deals. Even if you're like me, a deal junkie, that's a lot of deals. That would be too much for anybody. Ooh. How did we do with this country that I never heard of? We got a lot of deals cooking, but America is taking in hundreds of billions of dollars like it never has before. Investments into our country at the highest point ever in history, and we've just really been opened up for business for 3 of the 6 months. The first couple of months, we got ourselves all set, done a great job with our military. As you know, you saw that 2 weeks ago when you saw the way those incredible B-2s flew into Iran and took out an entire nuclear potential deadly force. But I want to thank some of the incredible people that I see before me, including White House AI czar David Sacks. He's been great for organizing this very important summit, and especially for putting it in D.C., where it's a little bit easier. I don't know if it's easy for you, but it's a hell of a lot easier for me. Along with his colleagues at the All In podcast, which is very good. I did that podcast a year and a half ago, and I said, this is something, it was pretty new, pretty raw. Everybody I knew saw that podcast. I said, well, he's got something pretty good. Who is that guy? He's a smart guy, by the way. I think if I ever get in, which at the time people were saying I had a shot, not as good a shot as it turned out. We won in numbers that nobody believes. We won every swing state. We won by millions and millions of votes, winning the popular vote. We won with the districts, as they would call them, 2,750 to 505. And that's why the map is almost completely red, except for a couple of little blue areas on each side of it. But it was a great experience, frankly, for me. And hopefully it's a great experience and been a great experience for our country, because they're saying we had the greatest 6 months that a president has ever had, the opening 6 months. And I'm not even sure, maybe 6 months. I'm not sure it's the opening, but let's call it the opening 6 months. It sounds a little bit nicer. I want to also say hello and thank to Chamath and his wonderful wife, Nat. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you very much. It was great seeing you again. Great couple. David Friedberg and even, as we know, Jason Calacanis. I say even. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. Yeah, he's a good person. Thanks as well to the Hill and Valley Forum and our future Undersecretary of State, Jacob Hellberg. Good work. Good. Stand up, Jason. Good. I met him a year and a half ago, and I was very impressed. I said, let's bring him in. We bring in a lot of smart people. And David's been unbelievable as the job he's doing. Along with Secretaries Doug Burgum, who's been incredible. Doug? Thank you. Thank you, Doug. Great job. He's producing low-cost energy. We're down to $64. I want to get it down a little bit further if we can. I don't know if the oil companies love that or not, but we want to have very inexpensive electricity so that you can power up the plants, because you need more electricity than any human beings ever in the history of the world. When I heard what you really need, I said, you got to be kidding. Double what we produce right now for everything, right? I don't know, you're going to... Jensen, you're going to have to explain that to me someday, why they need so damn much. Couldn't you do with a little bit less? My father always used to say, turn off the lights, son. But you guys are turning up the lights. I want to thank Howard Lutnick for doing a terrific job. He was involved in the big deal that we just completed with Japan. Howard, wherever you are, Howard. Where is Howard? Hi, Howard. Great job you did. Appreciate it. Really, that was an interesting negotiation, wasn't it? These are tough people. These are good negotiators, I will tell you, Japan. But they love their country, and they do what's right for their country. I want to thank Chris Wright, if Chris is around. Chris is here because he's helping with the tremendous energy success that we're having. We're having tremendous energy success. We're the biggest. We have more energy than anybody else in the world. Nobody knew that until I came along, but we have more energy than anybody else in the world. We're making incredible deals on energy, including deals in Alaska. Well, we that's the mother lode, that's the big one, and we're making deals with various Asian countries that need it, and it's actually hard to believe, you don't think of it, but Asia is very close to Alaska, relatively speaking. It's not the closest, but it is pretty much the closest when it comes to oil and gas and energy, and we're making some incredible deals, and I want to thank Chris. Chris is fantastic, works in partnership really with this gentleman who's the head of you've got the land and he's got the energy, right? But they formed a great partnership, Doug. So that's one of the greatest partnerships I've seen in a long time. They work hand in hand, and they have done a great job. Administrators, Kelly Loeffler, I think, is here. Kelly, thank you very much. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Kelly. And probably the most important man in the room, and I say it in all sincerity, more important than Doug and Chris and all that energy they're producing. He's a man that produces fast permits on the environmental impact statements. He gets them done. I said, Lee, you have 1 week for nuclear, and you have a couple of days for oil and gas, okay, for the approvals. And we kid, but you know, he really is. He's knocking them out fast. He's knocked out a lot. A lot of you guys have started your plants already, and you've already had your approvals. So where's Lee Zeldin? Is he here? He is so great. This guy, he is so great. That's why he has a slightly better seat than I gave to Doug, you see? Nah, he's doing a fantastic job in a lot of ways, but he's doing a great job, and he's getting fast permits and safe and good and everything else, but he's moving them along rapidly, already given some. And, you know, one of the most exciting things we'll talk about in a second is the fact that you're going to build your own electric producing plants when you build whatever you're building. And it could be, it's different things, including automobile factories, which are going up all over the place. You'll see them starting soon. They're moving into our country because of the tariffs, because they don't want to pay the tariffs. They're moving into our country at a record speed. But the ability to build your own electric plant, not having to rely on a 100-year-plus old grid. And then if you have electric capacity extra, you're going to sell it into the grid, make some money, but you'll sell it right back into the grid. Director of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, Michael Kratsios. Michael, thank you very much. Thank you, Michael. As well, it's supposed to be taking a vote right now, a big vote. Senator Ted Cruz. Is Senator Cruz here? Oh, look at my senator. Why aren't you voting? I think we lost David McCormick, who's voting. So why aren't, is David here? Because you're supposed to be voting, Ted. I don't know. I'll tell you what, this man works hard. Ted works hard, and he works good. And a very special thanks to some of the top industry leaders here, including somebody that's amazing. I said, look, we'll break this guy up. This is before I learned the facts of life. I said, we'll break him up. They said, don't say it's very hard. I said, why? I said, what percentages of the market does he have? Sir, he has 100%. I said, who the hell is he? What's his name? His name is Jensen Huang, NVIDIA. I said, what the hell is NVIDIA? I've never heard of it before. He said, you don't want to know about it, sir. I figured we could go in and we could sort of break them up a little bit, get them a little competition. And I found out it's not easy in that business. I said, supposing we put the greatest minds together and they work hand in hand for a couple of years. He said, no, it would take at least 10 years to catch him if he ran NVIDIA totally incompetently from now on. So I said, all right, let's go on to the next one. And then I got to know Jensen, and now I see why. Jensen, will you stand up? What a job. What a job you've done. Man. Great. He's a great guy, too. Lisa Su of AMD. Lisa? Lisa? Thank you. Congratulations. Great job. Sham Sanikar of Palantir. We buy a lot of things from Palantir. Where are you? Are we paying our bills? I think so. We just made a deal with the European Union where they're going to pay the United States of America 100% of the cost of all military equipment. They're going to ship it to the European Union, and then they'll distribute it, and much of it will go to Ukraine. It's been a long time since you've heard those words, because we're in for $350 billion. But now we send it to Europe, and Europe pays. And they were great. We had a tremendous NATO meeting a few weeks ago, and it was pretty amazing, actually, what happened. They agreed to go from 2% to 5%, and they had 2% where they didn't pay. They have 5% where they've already paid. That's a big difference. That's trillions of dollars, actually, trillions. but they're going to spend that money in the United States with our defense companies, and we're going to send it to them, and they'll distribute the equipment that we send. So that's the way it should have been 3 years ago, frankly. And Jeff Sprecher, the other half of that incredible family, is he here? Is he here? He's a fantastic guy, international, intercontinental exchange, and he's been a friend of mine for a long time, the husband of Kelly, who's really doing a good job. You are really doing a good job. Small business, which is actually big business if you add it all up, right? It's probably the biggest bank there is, but they call it small business, and she's done a fantastic job. Thanks, Kel. Say hello to Jeff. As we gather this afternoon, we're still in the earliest days of one of the most important technological revolutions in the history of the world. Around the globe, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. I find that too. Artificial, I can't stand it. I don't even like the name. You know, I don't like anything that's artificial. So could we straighten that out, please? We should change the name. I actually mean that. I don't like the name artificial anything, because it's not artificial. It's genius. It's pure genius. And its potential to transform every type of human endeavor and domain of human knowledge, from medicine to manufacturing to warfare and national defense. Whether we like it or not, we're suddenly engaged in a fast-paced competition to build and define this groundbreaking technology that will determine so much about the future of civilization itself, because of the genius and creativity of Silicon Valley. And it is incredible genius. Without question, the most brilliant place anywhere on earth. America is the country that started the AI race. And as President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it. Because we will not allow any foreign nation to beat us. Our children will not live on a planet controlled by the algorithms of the adversaries advancing values and interests contrary to our own. We don't want to have contrary interests. We want to get along, and we'll get along with other countries. We're having a great relationship, as I told you, with those countries that we mentioned, with Japan and Indonesia and so many others. The European Union, we're getting along very well with China. A lot of respect for President Xi. We have a great relationship, and we'll see how it all works out. But we're getting along with countries it's really been pretty amazing, I will say that, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing, not a bad thing. So from this day forward, it'll be a policy of the United States to do whatever it takes to lead the world in artificial intelligence, such an important thing happening. This is really something that nobody expected. It just popped out of the air, and here we are. But we will defend our nation, our values, our future, and our freedom, and it will be really great. But what we really need to be successful is a very simple phrase called common sense, and that begins with a common sense application of artificial and intellectual property rules. It's so important. You can't be expected to have a successful AI program when every single article, book, or anything else that you've read or studied, you're supposed to pay for. Gee, I read a book, I'm supposed to pay somebody. And you know, we appreciate that, but you just can't do it because it's not doable. And if you're going to try and do that, you're not going to have a successful program. I think most of the people in the room know what I mean. When a person reads a book or an article, you've gained great knowledge. That does not mean that you're violating copyright laws or have to make deals with every content provider. And that's a big thing that you're working on right now, I know, but you just can't do it. China's not doing it, and if you're going to be beating China, and right now we're leading China very substantially in AI, very, very substantially, and nobody's seen the amount of work that's going to be bursting upon the scene, but you have to be able to play by the same set of rules. So when you have something, when you read something, and when it goes into this vast intelligence machine, we'll call it, you cannot expect to every single time say, oh, let's pay this one that much, let's pay this one. It just doesn't work that way. Of course, you can't copy or plagiarize an article. But if you read an article and learn from it, we have to allow AI to use that pool of knowledge without going through the complexity of contract negotiations, of which there would be thousands for every time we use AI. We also have to have a single federal standard, not 50 different states regulating this industry of the future. And some people would say, gee, that's an unpopular thing to say. I was told before I got up here, this is an unpopular thing because some people, they don't want that. But I want you to be successful. And you can't have one state holding you up. You can't have 3 or 4 states holding you up. You can't have a state with standards that are so high that it's going to hold you up. You have to have a federal rule and regulation. Hopefully you'll have the right guy in this position that's going to supplant the states. If you are operating under 50 different sets of state laws, the most restrictive state of all will be the one that rules. So you could have a state run by a crazy governor, a governor that hates you, a governor that's not smart, or maybe a governor that's very smart, but decides that he doesn't like the industry and he can put you out of business because you're going to have to go to that lowest common denominator. We need one common sense federal standard that supersedes all states, supersedes everybody, so you don't end up in litigation with 43 states at one time. You got to go litigation free. It's the only way. And we also have to watch Europe, Asia, and all foreign countries so that they don't make rules and regulations that likewise make it impossible for you to do business, and where you'd have to make everything in AI cater to them, because again, you'd have to cater to the toughest country or to the toughest state. You can't do that because it would ruin it. I just terminated all of the, as an example, California car emissions rules, which were a disaster. It cost them just billions of dollars as an industry, but thousands of dollars per car. The emission rule standard, because they were making the production of an automobile almost impossible and at a tremendously higher cost, much more expensive than it should cost, for very little gain, for actually, in my opinion, negative gain. The automobile was worse. Under this administration, our innovation will be unmatched and our capabilities will be unrivaled. And with the help of many of the people in this room, America's ultimate triumph will be absolutely unstoppable. We will be unstoppable as a nation. Again, we're way ahead and we want to stay that way. We can't let individual smaller units stop it, because that's the only thing that can stop it and can really mess it up. As with any such breakthrough, this technology brings the potential for bad as well as for good, for peril as well as for progress. But the daunting power of AI is it's not going to be a reason for retreat from this new frontier. On the contrary, it is the more reason we must ensure it is pioneered first and best. We have to have the best, the first pioneer. We are the best and the first pioneers, and we're going to be really putting a nation that we love, America, we're going to be putting it first. I have an expression, America first, make America great again. A lot of great expressions, but they're all so true. We're going to make America great again. We're going to make this industry absolutely the top, because right now it's a beautiful baby that's born. We have to grow that baby and let that baby thrive. We can't stop it. We can't stop it with politics. We can't stop it with foolish rules and even stupid rules. At the same time, we want to have rules, but they have to be smart. They have to be brilliant. They have to be more brilliant than even the technology itself. Surely there will be challenges on the path ahead, but together we will meet them and transcend them all. We are Americans, and we are Americans first. I have a couple of people I know that don't happen to be from here, but I wish you a lot of luck anyway. I'm looking at 3 people that are not Americans, but they're very good people. Please treat them nicely. But we do not shrink from the future or cower in the face of uncertainty. We dominate the future. We conquer new frontiers, and we control our own fate. And we determine, by doing that, our own destiny. Winning this competition will be a test of our capacities unlike anything since the dawn of the space age. I believe that. It's hard to believe as the president, the amount of enthusiasm for this one industry. I mean, I can talk about cars where we're doing incredibly well. We have car companies moving in all the time, but I talk about other industries. Everybody's saying this is going to dominate the world. It's going to dominate every industry that ever conceived. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if it's true, but I can tell you that a lot of very brilliant people think it is true. It'll dominate everything. It will challenge us to marshal all of our strength and flex the muscles of American ingenuity and resolve like probably never before. It will require us to blast through obsolete systems, cut through thickets of regulation. We've got to get rid of some of the regulation, but we want good regulation and rebuild the industrial bedrock of our country. And perhaps most importantly, winning the AI race will demand a new spirit of patriotism and national loyalty in Silicon Valley and long beyond Silicon Valley. For too long, much of our tech industry pursued a radical globalism that left millions of Americans feeling distrustful and betrayed. And you know that. Everybody knows that. Everybody in this room certainly does. Many of our largest tech companies have reaped the blessings of American freedom while building their factories in China, hiring workers in India, and slashing profits in Ireland. You know that? All the while dismissing and even censoring their fellow citizens right here at home. Under President Trump, those days are over. We need U.S. technology companies to be all in for America. We want you to put America first. You have to do that. That's all we ask. That's all we ask. To partner with our tech geniuses in achieving this vision today, we're releasing the White House AI Action Plan. Big stuff. We're signing it right after this. In fact, I see it sitting right there. Maybe I should just sign it right now. Who the hell has to make the rest of this speech, right? But here are the pillars of the strategy. First, my administration will use every tool at our disposal to ensure that the United States can build and maintain the largest, most powerful, and most advanced AI infrastructure anywhere on the planet. America needs new data centers, new semiconductor and chip manufacturing facilities, new power plants and transmission lines. And under my leadership, we're going to get that job done, and it's going to be done with certainty and with environmental protection and all of the things that we have to do to get it done properly. Virtually all of these large capital investments can be and should be made by the private sector. And they want to do that. They just want to be able to do it. But for that reason, America must once again be a country where innovators are rewarded with a green light, not strangled with red tape so they can't move, so they can't breathe. And that's not going to happen. You're going to see things that you've never seen in this country before. So often, and I've been watching for many years, I've watched regulation. I've been a victim of regulation. A zone change that takes 6 years for a building in Manhattan or whatever. But I was good at zone changes, but it took a long time. By the time you got the zoning, the market changed. You didn't want to build the building. You say, well, but in some cases that made you lucky, didn't it? Huh? In some, not too many people understand that in this room, but in some cases, waiting for that approval as the market collapsed was a good thing, not a bad thing. But it's time to reclaim our heritage as a nation of builders, and that's why, upon taking office, I signed a historic executive order directing that every one, and this is so important, for every new regulation, 10 old regulations must be immediately eliminated. So we have old regulations that clog up the books that don't even mean anything anymore. You know, in my first term, I had more regulation cuts than any president in history times 4, and that included 2-term presidents where you're talking about 8 years. We had more than any other president, and I think we may even top it this year. We may very well be able to top it during this period of time because you're really, you are a regulation-prone group, and we're looking to get those regulations out of your way so you can use your genius. Earlier this month, we also enacted the largest tax cuts in American history when I signed the One Big Beautiful Bill into law. And I think the most important thing in the whole tax cut, in terms of pure economics, and I think one of the reasons that my first, we had the most successful economy in history during my first term, and I think this is going to blow it away. So far it is, and I think this is going to blow it away. But the reason we had was I had expensing at 100%. And what we did is we included 100% in this bill, expensing for all capital expenditures, including investments in factories and equipment and structure. Structure wasn't included last time, so even structure, and you're able to write it all off immediately. That's the biggest thing, not 38 years, not 42 years, you're able to write it all off immediately. And this time we've made it for 10 years, not for 1 year. We've made it for 10 years, so you have a much longer period, but I'd say get out and take advantage of it. I think that's one of the reasons that we had such an incredible success with the first tax cuts. And one of the things that this bill does is it extends the first tax cuts and makes them permanent. And in addition to that, we were granted other taxes like no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. A lot of great things. One of the things that I mentioned, not so pertinent here, but if you're in the automobile business, it's pertinent. I said, why is it that people like us always are looking for expenses and deductions, and people that buy automobiles that really have to go out and borrow money to buy a car, why aren't they allowed to deduct the interest on their loan to buy a car from their income tax? And we got it approved. We got it approved. And that is such a big thing. And I think that's going to be such a big thing for the automobile industry. We're going to be making more cars. Within a few years, we're going to be making more cars than we made in the very beginning, in the super prime. We lost almost 50% of our automobile business to Mexico, Canada, and various other places, as you know, in Europe and in Asia. And now we're getting it back. We're getting it back in record numbers. And I think we're going to be topping any amount. In a few years, we'll be making more automobiles than we've ever made in the history of our country, including what I call prime time. My administration is also pursuing a future of all-out American energy dominance. And on day one, I terminated the Green New Scam. You know what that was? You were all victims to it. Perhaps the second or third greatest scam in the history of our country. I would say the first was Russia, Russia, Russia. And we had a couple of others too. But the Green New Scam was one of the greatest. It's so ridiculous what they've made you do. The carbon footprint. They talked about the carbon footprint, and then Obama hops onto a 747 Air Force One and flies to Hawaii to play a round of golf and comes back. What about the carbon footprint? No, we didn't like that. And what Biden has done is absolutely terrible. He made it impossible, almost impossible for people to do business, not even talking about the border, where millions and millions of people flowed into our country, many from prisons, from jails, from gangs, from mental institutions all over the world. No, we're not doing that. We have to get them out. We've got 11,888 murderers, many of them committed more than one murder. Many of them, more than 50%, committed more murders. We're getting them out of our country, or in some cases, they're so bad, we're not getting them out. We're having to lock them up because we don't want them ever to come back, no matter how good we're doing. Last month, you probably read, we had 0 people enter our country illegally. And over the last number of years, you'd have hundreds of thousands, literally hundreds of thousands of people a week pour into our country, totally unvetted and unchecked. And what the hell were they thinking? What they've done to our country is so sad, and we can never forget it. But we're unleashing all forms of energy, including natural gas, oil, and clean, beautiful coal. I instructed my people, in the form of Chris and Doug in particular, you are not allowed to say the word coal without saying clean, beautiful in front of it. You can only say clean, beautiful coal. It's a little embarrassing because we had somebody making a speech the other day, right? And he mentioned the word coal about 30 times because that was the subject. And he kept going clean, beautiful. I wanted to say, okay, just take it easy. You could just, got a little bit crazy, right, Doug? But it's, China's using it. They're building now 57 big power plants, all fueled by coal. And we have to compete, we have to win, and we're going to have clean, beautiful coal, but we have more coal than any. We have more anything in terms of energy than anybody, oil and gas. We also have more coal. In May, I also signed an executive order to rapidly begin construction of safe, reliable nuclear reactors. That's a big thing now. And many of you are going to be using nuclear. You know, I had problems with nuclear. I saw some of the things, but what they've done with nuclear is like what you've done with AI and other things. It's incredible, actually. It's long-term, it's inexpensive, it's safe. What they've done is really amazing. So we opened up the industry, very strict rules, but we opened up the industry, and some of you are going to choose nuclear over oil and gas or whatever it might be. Under the last year of Biden, China added 11 times as much power generation capacity as did the United States. Can you imagine that 11 times? Under the Trump administration, we will be saying those very famous campaign words, drill, baby, drill, and build, baby, build. And we will be adding at least as much electric capacity as China. We think we're going to catch them and maybe even have something a little bit extra. They're going very rapidly, but so are we. And we'll be doing at least as much, and every company will be given the right to build their own power plant. So when you build, you can build your power plant with it, and you are essentially going to become your own utility. It's a utility to yourselves. And as I said, any excess energy you're going to sell back to the grid and make plenty of money doing it. As a result of these pro-American policies since my election, we're seeing trillions and trillions of dollars in new investments. So at this moment, we have almost $17 trillion coming into this country. There's never been a period of time like that. And that's in a period of a few months. In a few months, Meta, Amazon, Google, Microsoft are all investing $320 billion or more in data centers and AI infrastructure this year. Those companies are really, they're really going at it, and they're very smart people, very good people. I got to know a lot of them. You know, I didn't like them so much the first term when I was running. I wouldn't say I was thrilled with them, but I've gotten to know them and like them. And I think they got to like me, but I think they got to like my policies maybe much more than me. NVIDIA has committed $500 billion over the next 4 years. Thank you, Jensen. I'm sure that'll be a good investment. If you're doing it, it's good. Thank you very much. It's a great statement. Last week, I was in Pennsylvania as 20 companies announced $92 billion with David McCormick, senator, great guy from Pennsylvania. $92 billion in energy and data center projects, including what will soon be the largest natural gas power plant anywhere in North America. They're going to town. It's already under construction, the largest in North America by far. For decades, we had leaders who spent their time focused on building up foreign nations. Under the Trump administration, we are going to have leaders who are going to build up our nation. This colossal investment in AI infrastructure and many other industries, for that matter, such as automobiles and so many other things, will also create thousands and thousands of great-paying jobs, the kind of jobs we want, including lots of blue-collar jobs. And you know, our numbers are very good right now, but wait till you see these numbers in 2 years from now. It will mean higher wages and more opportunity for millions of energy workers, HVAC technicians, engineers, electricians, and the hardworking citizens who make our country run. These are great people that make our country actually run. To ensure America maintains the world-class infrastructure we need to win today, I will sign a sweeping executive order to fast-track federal permitting, streamline reviews, and do everything possible to expedite construction of all major AI infrastructure projects. And this will be done. You will get so good a service in so many ways, not only from Lee with the environment, but you need many other types of permits, and you're going to go so fast. You're going to say, well, wait a minute, this is too fast. I didn't expect to go this quickly. This is a problem. I may cause a problem in opposite. But including factories, data centers, and power plants of all kinds, the United States will have total industrial and technological supremacy. The second pillar of our action plan for AI dominance is to get the entire world running on the backbone of American technology, and I think that's very much happening right now, and I think it's going to happen. The last administration was obsessed with imposing restrictions on AI, including extreme restrictions on its exports. As you know, they made it very difficult to export. This alienated American partners and drove even our friends into the arms of China and other countries. That's why upon taking office, I repealed the so-called Biden diffusion rule. Can you imagine that? That crippled American AI exports, the Biden diffusion rule. I wonder who came up with that name, because he has no idea what it is. He had no idea what it was. He came up with a rule. I wonder who drew that one. I wonder, was that signed by the Autopen, I think, because they went to him and said, we're going to do a diffusion rule. Mr. President, what? What? It's okay, the Autopen will take care of it. It's one of the greatest scandals in the history of our country, let me tell you. Under my administration, we will maintain necessary protections for our national security, but we will never forget that the greatest threat of all is to forfeit the race and force our partners into rival technology. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. Okay? Not going to let that happen. That could be the end. When I traveled to the Middle East in May, every leader I met was thrilled to do business with American tech firms and with America, and they were all thrilled to meet me, believe it or not. It's hard to believe, isn't it? But they were. By the way, most powerful woman in the world is here today. Susie Wiles, stand up, please. Susie Wiles, Chief of Staff. She can take out a country with a mere phone call. No, they just voted her the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. She might be the most powerful person in the world, I think. But she's done hasn't she done a good job, though, huh? Good. But we're going to come home with trillions and trillions of dollars in deals, and that's the way it is. But the King of Saudi Arabia, I met three great leaders. I went to three countries predominantly. King of Saudi Arabia said, and I can say that Qatar and UAE, the leaders, brilliant guys, great people, they said the same thing. They said, you know what, that 1 year ago, your country was dead. It was a dead country. They were looking at China, they were looking at other places, but you had a dead country. And today, Mr. President, you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. They said that, and they meant it so strongly. And when I went to NATO 2 weeks ago, where we made the deal where they pay 5% instead of 2%, they said the same exact thing. They said, boy, I tell you what a difference it is. It's a year ago, you people were dead. We didn't think you were going to make it as a country. Today, you're the hottest country in the world. They all said it. All those leaders said it, 30 of them. So today, I'm signing another major executive order that will turn America into an AI export powerhouse. Under this order, Secretary Lutnick and Secretary Marco Rubio's doing a great job as Secretary of State, will work to rapidly expand American AI exports of all kinds, from chips to software to data storage of all kinds. And that's very important. That's going to give you the freedom to do what you want to do. And third, once and for all, we are getting rid of woke. Is that okay? Because I know you had to hire all woke people. I heard you had to hire all woke people under some of these things. How about the chips, where they give you the chip nonsense, where they give you billions of dollars if you only build a chip company? These people have plenty of money. They don't need the money. They need the permits. They need the rights to do it. They don't want to pay tariffs, so they come and they build here. That's why they're coming here. They like, number one, they like me, but they like not having to pay tariffs even more. And they're coming. But Biden gave billions of dollars to companies that have nothing but cash. And they don't say where to build. It's just give them money. But here's the problem. They have to hire lots of woke people. And they say woke isn't for this particular industry. We've noticed that. They're not for a lot of industries, if you want to know the truth. So the guidelines were impossible. They're going to give you money, but you got to hire this and this and this and that. And I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want any controversy today. But you have to hire a lot of people that were not into this particular world that you're in. And so therefore, all the money they gave didn't mean a damn thing. One of Biden's worst executive orders established toxic diversity, equity, and inclusion ideology as a guiding principle of American AI development. So you immediately knew that was the end of your development. But the American people do not want woke Marxist lunacy in the AI models, and neither do other countries. They don't want it. They don't want anything to do with it. That's why on day one, I very proudly terminated Joe Biden's order on woke AI effective immediately. You don't have any of those crazy rules. Crazy rules. And in just a moment, I will be signing an order banning the federal government from procuring AI technology that has been infused with partisan bias or ideological agendas such as critical race theory, which is ridiculous. And from now on, the U.S. government will deal only with AI that pursues truth, fairness, and strict impartiality. We're not going to go through the craziness that we've gone through for the last 4 years. And then we skip 4, and then you go back, and it started then. But it hung around a little while. Now it's not hanging around at all. Now it's actually very uncool, as somebody told me the other day. It's so uncool to be woke. I encourage all American companies to join us in rejecting poisonous Marxism in our technology. It'll be very interesting to see what's happening in New York, because they're actually thinking about electing a communist in New York. They like to call him a socialist. He's not a socialist. He's a communist. But don't worry, you're going to be okay. He still has to get his money from the White House, and that's not going to happen until he shapes up. But as an example, we are not going to allow men to play in women's sports. That's an example. That's one. And they say that's an 80-20 number. They say 80% would be against it. No, it's not 80-20. It's about 97-3. And I don't know who the 3 are. I've never seen anybody. I've never had a person. I've seen everybody. I'm a very open person. They come up to me and they talk to me. I've never had anybody come up, "Sir, you have to let men play in women's sports." I've never had it. I deal with hundreds or thousands of people. Every time I talk to somebody, they talk about AI, they talk about everything, but they've never said, "You gotta allow, this is ridiculous. Men should be allowed to play in women's sports." It's sort of crazy, isn't it, huh? You have to see, did you see the race? It was a race, a long distance marathon, one of those all-day deals, and we had one of the great female runners, and we had one of the great male runners, and at the end of the day, he won the race by 5 hours and 14 seconds. They waited around for the really good athlete female. It's very demeaning to women, I want to tell you that, but they waited. Her parents were waiting for hours. Somebody said, "Why don't you go back to the hotel and sleep for a few hours and come back and meet your daughter?" This is what they do. You got to see the weightlifting records. Oh, they're the best of all. A woman lifted 212 pounds. It was a world record. It held for 18 years. And now a man who transitioned came up and looked at the bar. "How much is it?" 212 pounds. "Oh, let me try it." Bing, bong. I think he broke the record by 109 pounds. It's going to be a long time. It's going to be a long time before a woman catches that. And these are great athletes and great people, and it's demeaning. And who the hell wants this? We're off of that whole standard, because I just tell you those as examples. We're off of it. The reason the last administration was so eager to regulate and restrict AI was so they could limit this technology to just a few large companies, allowing them to centralize it, censor it, control it, weaponize it. And they would weaponize it. A very dishonest group of people. You probably saw that because we caught them in the act. We really caught them. We had it before, but now we really have them. We have it where it counts. But this is the exact opposite of my approach. The unique strength of the American tech industry has always come from its startups and small tech. It comes through small. Jensen was small. Were you ever small? I think so. When you started in your bedroom, I think you were small, right? He started as very small, and now he's really become very amazing. If you regulate them too much, you kill the source of American genius and technological power. I believe that. Joe Biden had a plan to lose the AI race. I think he wanted to lose it because his plan would never have worked. It would have never been successful. You would have spent a lot of money and you wouldn't have been able to win. They didn't allow you to win, but we have a plan which only admires and respects the winners. Every citizen should take incredible pride in the inspiring feats of American innovators who are pushing the bounds of human knowledge and achievement. The people of OpenAI, Google, Meta, and countless startups are proving once again that America is impossible. You are just impossible to beat. You're not going to be beaten. We're not going to let that happen. When you do your best, when you work your hardest, and when you're allowed to be free of horrible, foolish regulation. And you're going to have regulation, but it's going to be sensible, smart regulation. There's nobody who's going to beat you. As we push even further into this exciting frontier, let us never forget that all of this prosperity and progress has come from the culture of freedom and hard work, merit, ambition, and risk-taking passed down from one generation of Americans to the next. Silicon Valley rose to wealth, fame, and glory by exemplifying these values, and it will win this race not by rejecting them, but by embracing them like they have never been embraced before. We must put America first. This is a nation that invented the light bulb, the telegraph, the television, the telephone, the computer chip, the smartphone, the GPS, the integrated circuit, and even the internet. Basically, we invented everything. What is left? We invented everything. And now it's AI. We invented everything. Does anyone have anything else to say? And now we're going to take it to a new level. But Americans were the first to fly a plane, first to harness the atom, and first to plant our flag on the moon. We mastered the industrial age, we created the digital age, and now we are leading the world into the golden age, indeed, the golden age of America. With your help, that golden age will be built by American workers. It will be powered by American energy. It will be run on American technology, improved by American artificial intelligence, and it will make America richer, stronger, greater, freer, and more powerful than ever before. And I will now do my share by going and signing a name without an auto pen. I will sign it. If we had one, I wouldn't use it anyway, but we will sign it auto pen free, and we will say, Donald J. Trump, God bless America, and God bless you, and good luck, because the race has just begun, and you're going to win it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. President, the first executive order that we've prepared for your signature today relates to federal permitting for data center infrastructure. As you mentioned during your speech, this is a crucial issue affecting the entire AI industry. What this executive order will do is establish fast-track permitting and ensure that the federal government is working to get data centers approved and through the permitting pipeline as quickly as possible.
Okay.
As you said before, sir, it's absolutely essential that American AI models and the American AI industry dominates the future of this industry around the world. What this next executive order will do is promote, through various instrumentalities of the federal government, the export abroad of American AI models to ensure American AI dominance in the future.
Okay.
And lastly, sir, as you said in your speech, we don't want woke AI. We want AI models based on accurate information that give accurate information and accurate answers. This executive order will ensure that when the federal government procures or promotes different AI models, that those AI models are ideologically neutral, that they don't embrace wokeism and critical race theory and all of these terrible theories that have done so much damage to our country.
Thank you very much. Thank you, my friend. Good job. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, everybody. Good luck. Good luck. Thank you very much.
That was the OG, the 45th, now the 47th President of the United States. So, now, like I promised you guys, we're going to move forward and we're going to see what's going on the conservative side. Yesterday, we did the liberal side. So, of course, Fox News is conservative for sure, and CNN is the liberal side. So, we did CNN yesterday, today, Fox. All right. So, with that being said, there's this claim that the Obama administration actually was involved in some Russian hoax, okay? According to DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, she has some declassified information and she shared it with the world. She shared it yesterday in the White House with Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary. So we're going to check that out here. But before that, let's listen to what they're saying here.
Tulsi Gabbard now claims to have uncovered evidence the Trump-Russia collusion investigation resulted from, quote, manufactured intelligence. She says it was designed to discredit the president-elect back in 2016. Here she is yesterday.
There's no question in my mind that this intelligence community assessment that President Obama ordered be published, which contained a manufactured intelligence document. It's worse than even politicization of intelligence. It was manufactured intelligence.
All right, Justice Correspondent David Spunt is live out of Washington, D.C. for us. Good morning, David. What can you tell us?
Hey, Jillian, good morning. In 6 months, it'll be 2026, but for some, 2016 will not go away, and this administration has no plans for it to go away, uncovering new information. DNI Gabbard believes that Team Obama altered intelligence from Russia and saying Russia was not involved in the 2016 election to Russia was involved in the 2016 election shortly before Trump took office. She sent information for the DOJ and the FBI for possible prosecution.
This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is an issue that is so serious it should concern every single American because it has to do with the integrity of our democratic republic.
Fox News Digital obtained a declassified copy of the presidential daily brief for President Obama dated December 8, 2016. It reads in part, we assess that Russian and criminal actors did not impact recent U.S. election results by conducting malicious cyber activities against election infrastructure. It continues, Russian government-affiliated actors most likely compromised an Illinois voter registration database and unsuccessfully attempted the same in other states. But in 2020, a bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee investigation found that while the Trump may not have accepted Russian help, Russia did meddle in some form or another. The chairman of the Intel Committee at the time was Marco Rubio, then Florida senator, now the top diplomat to the United States. And in 2020, he put out a statement that said, the committee found absolutely no evidence that then candidate Donald Trump or his campaign colluded with the Russian government to meddle in the 2016 election. What the committee did find, however, is very troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. Senator Jim Himes is a Democrat from Connecticut on the Senate Intelligence Committee.
Tulsi Gabbard accusing a former president of treason. Let's see if they bring charges. They won't. They won't, because there's not a judge in the land, not a single judge, who will treat this with anything other than laughter that will be heard from the Atlantic to the Pacific in this country.
Himes pointed to the fact that Russians connected to the Kremlin bought Facebook ads to damage Clinton's campaign, hoping it would prop up Trump's campaign. But Tulsi Gabbard says she wants it investigated by law enforcement. Back to you.
All right, David Spun in Washington for us this morning. Thank you.
So more on this. I want to bring in investigative journalist Matt Taibbi. Matt, thanks for joining our program today, and good morning to you.
Good morning.
A lot of the usual suspects, Clapper, Comey, Brennan, et cetera. But also Barack Obama is mentioned in a lot of this. And you read at Racket News that a source had told you that Obama is now, quote, center square in the Russiagate scam. Go ahead and explain that. Then I've got questions for you after that.
Sure. So the last major revelation that came out was that John Brennan and James Comey were the focus of criminal investigations that have been opened by the Justice Department. But these new documents that were released by Tulsi Gabbard and the Director of National Intelligence make it clear that the investigation is now aimed at the Obama White House, and in particular at Barack Obama, because of decisions that were made in early December of 2016 to suppress the presidential daily briefing and go ahead and order a new intelligence community assessment that ultimately would have much more aggressive conclusions about Trump and Russia.
So a lot of this, December of 2016 into January of 2017, I'm assuming also. You know, but Trump's people were in there for 4 years. And the current CIA director had his job for 8 months at the time. Did his people fail him? Why wasn't there more urgency on this and Trump 1.0 as there is now?
Yeah, that's a complaint I heard a lot over the weekend from people who have been following this, and even from former officials who are close to Trump. One of them said to me, a former high-ranking Trump official said there was, quote, so much corruption in the last Trump presidency that this shouldn't have been overlooked, that these documents should have come out. Absolutely. But the overall sense I get is that everyone's happy that they finally are coming out, and they're looking forward to what is likely to come out this week.
Okay, another question about Russia. Is the allegation they were trying to influence our election, or is the allegation that they actually changed votes? I think we need to be clear on that. What can we say?
So it's both. The Democrats are making a lot of hay over this apples and oranges issue, that there was never any question that they didn't actually change vote tallies, but they did influence the election. Actually, there was some question about whether they had the ability to influence the election. There were quotes earlier from that year with the FBI saying they didn't have any evidence that they had done so, and they were uncomfortable making that statement. There were also quotes saying that they lacked evidence that Russia had the ability to impact the outcome of the election. So all of this would have been passed on to somebody like Michael Flynn, because presidents-elect are entitled to receive the presidential daily briefing. That's why this is important. It's not so much what the PDB did say, it's what it didn't say. It didn't say that there was a sweeping conspiracy to help Trump. And if they had that, it would have been a very different political picture going forward.
Okay, looks like it's the DOJ's call next, and we'll see what they do.
Oh, man, the Obama
Today is the
administration
anniversary of President Biden pulling his name out of the 2024 presidential race, and his son, Hunter, is doing a little bit of reflecting. He just sat down for an interview with YouTuber Andrew Callahan, and Hunter got candid about George Clooney's op-ed calling for his father to exit the race. Watch this.
I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. You. What do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president at a time in which, by the way, what do people care about the most? Why do you think that the Republicans have an advantage over us? Because they're unified. They will go along with anything. I wasn't asking anybody to go along with anything. I was asking people to go along with this. The most successful administration in my lifetime.
Bro.
The most successful administration in my lifetime.
What is the point of Hunter Biden's media tour?
I haven't the slightest idea, Kennedy. I think that the fact that 3 Washington journalists just wrote a tell-all book that basically blames Joe Biden's loss on his son Hunter and laid out examples of why that is. Maybe now he wants to go out there and defend it, but that is an obscure interview making crazy claims attacking George Clooney. He's apparently in this interview on the wrong side of the immigration issue, which, by the way, is the issue more than others that tanked his father's presidency.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Griff. Let's take a little gander at Hunter Biden's hot take on immigration. Watch.
People are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden?
I wash my dishes.
I would pick up the phone and call
cook
the
my
president
food.
of El Salvador and say, you either send them back or I'm going to invade. It's a crime what they're doing. He's a dictator.
Bruh.
Oh, Cheryl, this is beyond parody. And supposedly he was acting as his dad's chief of staff with that potty mouth.
So this apparently is a 3-hour sit-down interview, and it's on YouTube, to be clear. Something else, another direct quote from Hunter. I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, meaning his dad, basically at the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. He's 81. He's tired as blank. They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage. He looks like a deer in the headlights. So it's basically the White House doctor and Ambien's fault that was Joe Biden on the debate stage last year. The things he's saying in this interview more details are coming out right now. I mean, and it's incredible.
Basically, he's justifying the reporting. The presidency is exhausting. A lot is asked of you as president. Yeah. You do have to fly around the world. You do have to be ready in the middle of the night. And, sure, sometimes it's hard sleeping, but if that's the case and you can't perform in your most important campaign duty, are you really ready for 4 more years of the job?
Well, that's what people who look like they're not sober will do. They'll harm the people that they love. And this hurts his dad. This makes it look like everything that was ever true about his dad's lack of fitness for office can be proven by him and his recollection and his, offensive spewing rant that he went on for, you said, the better part of 3 hours. But the greater problem with this is what you ask. Why now? We saw Joe Biden a couple of weeks ago come out. Look, all the books and all of that. But what harms them are just look at Joe Biden now and look at his son. Should either one of them been in any kind of a White House meeting? And I still argue, and yeah, it's kind of a joke, but I bet I might be right about this. I think we get answers if Hunter Biden led the who brought the Coke into the White House investigation. Like, he looks like a hot mess there. It's sad. It's really sad. But he makes the point, my dad wasn't ready. My dad couldn't do the job. He was too exhausted.
He was tired.
This is why when people talk about Donald Trump's family and how he's a mess or whatever, when you look at his kids, from Don Jr. to Eric, even to his grandkids, hi Trump, when you listen to them speak, you can tell they are absolutely well trained. You could say, they come from privilege or whatever you want to talk about. However, you could never say this guy, Hunter, could not even put a sentence together without cursing. All emotional. That's a man. That's a full-grown man, all emotional. Couldn't even speak properly. There is no way an Eric Trump or Don Jr. or even Donald Trump's grandkids would talk like that. So when people say, well, Trump it's like, look at his kids, bro. Well-mannered, well-behaved, fully functioning human beings. That's what every parent wants for their kids. Independent children, well-mannered kids, properly functioning human beings. Look at Hunter. Just like daddy.
Hyped up on this or hyped up on that. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. He looked like a a cornered rabid animal.
Well, worse than that, he's sitting here asking, why are people upset about illegal immigration? Like basically telling us to tone it down with a string of explicatives. Excuse me. But the problem that I have is I would like to ask you, Hunter Biden, who killed that Laken Riley? Who killed Jocelyn Nungary? Who shot the CBP officer in New York? You don't even address that. That's the problem that Americans have with illegal immigration, is that we've got violent criminals here that are hurting Americans, and he failed to acknowledge that. It's not about hotel workers and restaurant workers. It's about the violent criminals, and that's who this administration is going after.
Not in Hunter's world, which is it's a freaky deaky upside down world. And we
Freaky dicky. Oh my God. Freaky dicky, ladies and gentlemen. All right, here we go.
Well, it has been 6 months now since President Trump kicked off what he called the golden age of America with the start of his second term. And despite all the critics, 47's got plenty of wins on his plate to boast about. Let's break it down. That big, beautiful bill he promised, signed. Tariffs, they've pulled in a whopping $100 billion in revenue. And illegal border crossings have dropped to record lows. Here's what White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says about that.
I think you've all seen in 6 months' time, the president has delivered on those two core campaign promises. Inflation is now running at a 2.1% annual rate. You look at our southern border, look at the numbers. Just last month, 0 illegal aliens were released into our country. And then look at what the president has done on the world stage. He has ended wars like India and Pakistan. He continues to work aggressively to end the war in Russia and Ukraine.
But don't just take the White House's word for it. President Trump's success at the border is showing up in the data. June saw the lowest month of border encounters ever recorded, and the second straight month with 0 illegal aliens released into the country. And yet, the Dems still won't give Trump credit. LA Mayor Karen Bass telling ABC's Martha Raddatz his crackdown isn't working.
If you ask me, is there anything that they have done good? I think that the viewpoint has been punitive, has been let's make it as miserable as possible so that these people don't come.
So what does that tell you, Harold? Is your party going to acknowledge any of these wins, border, economy, trade, or otherwise?
So it's good to be with you. Hope you had a great weekend. I give the president high marks on the border, like a lot in the polls do. I give the president high marks on being the first president in my lifetime with the enormous coordination we had with the Israelis to be able to set back. We can argue over 6 months, 6 years, it was a success to set back the nuclear program. I give him great credit to get our European allies in NATO to spend 5% on defense. I now hope he catalyzes and leverages that to say to Putin, you may get Crimea, but if you tack anything else, we're going to let them into NATO right away, but I'll let the president and his team negotiate that. And as you said, the tax and spending bill. But Sandra, Democrats and I are not the problem. The polling right now shows, and I said this when Joe Biden was in office, when his team would run around saying the economy is going great, things are going well. I said, some of the numbers may say that, but the polls don't say that. People don't believe they're doing well. If you look at some of the polling, surprising to me, the president's underwater on the economy. Surprising to me, he's underwater on immigration. My theory on immigration is we support him hugely on the border. I'm part of the group that supports him on the border. But I think when we get to, and I say this all the time on the show, the hierarchy of deportations, who gets deported once you get beyond the worst being the first, I think a lot of Americans are wrestling with that issue. So if I were the president, I certainly would be talking the way he's talking these first 6 months. I think that the next 2 weeks probably for many people, including business leaders in the country, whether or not the president's able to get tariff and trade agreements with some of our allies and even some of those who are not our allies, I think will even help influence that economy number, which I was surprised by. I didn't think the president would be underwater as much, particularly since the tax and spending bill got passed. But these are American people who are living their lives who are responding to these polls.
Well, I suppose the polls can come and go and they can change in a heartbeat, but the data really speaks for itself. Jesse, can Democrats continue to not deny that the president's policies at the border are working? The economy, as the Wall Street Journal put in a recent headline, is regaining its swagger?
Well, I don't know why Harold mentions polls. Trump's going to be president for life. Isn't that what they said? Well, who cares about re-election? He's just going to stay there. There's a lot of great things happening, and we'll get to that. But there are certain things that I am not satisfied with so far in the first 6 months. We haven't invaded Greenland yet, and the clock is ticking. I also want to see the Fort Knox tour. Whatever happened to touring Fort Knox? Is the gold there? Is it not there? We need to know. Paulie P. has yet to be indicted on insider trading, and every day that goes by with him as a free man is a day that corruption lives on. The tax cuts weren't deep enough. They should have been much deeper. And I'm not saying that from a selfish perspective at all, Harold. Stop looking at me.
What perspective are you coming from?
From a policy perspective, that would have been much better. And he should have hired more Fox hosts. The fact that he couldn't find an extra job somewhere for Will Cain, I mean, have you seen the 4 o'clock? I'm missing Cavuto at this point. It's gotten so bad. But behind the scenes, there's so many good things happening.
Oh, my God.
We are now breaking ground on a rare earth mineral mine in Arizona. We're starting the first nuclear power plant in 15 years. We're selling an enormous amount of natural gas to the Europeans, and it's not even 2% they paid their NATO dues up. It's now 5%. AI data centers, they're doing ribbon cutting ceremonies every single day, and we are revitalizing American shipbuilding. But it is interesting, this media now are admitting that the president does control the border, and it has nothing to do with Congress. So I'd be interested to see the next Democrat president, when they get into the White House, and if they open the floodgates again, that has to be covered as a choice. He cannot blame Trump. They cannot blame Congress or funding. The next Democrat president that comes in and they reverse Donald Trump's border policies and we have another invasion, the media has to treat that as a decision the president is making. Because now we know he has the tools to do it without Congress.
I promise I won't do it.
Yeah, I mean, Katie.
Good for
Katie,
I like that.
To Jesse's point, I mean, even Martha Raddatz in that interview we just showed a bit of says whatever they're doing is certainly working at the border itself, an acknowledgement that, to Jesse's point, the president is controlling the border.
It proves it was all a choice. And when you take care of the border, you then can focus on interior enforcement, this deportation task force they're implementing in cities across the country, getting rid of criminal, illegal aliens, but also it really helps take pressure off of public service systems, taxpayer-funded systems like hospitals, schools, public transportation, et cetera. So that is a long-term thing that will play out and help. I always used to say that working in D.C. is like dog years, one feels like 7, but based on how much Trump has accomplished in 6 months, we're going to need another comparison. And these are not gimmick achievements. They are short-term politically popular for the most part, and long-term, they help the country and the world, whether it's the AI that they pushed forward last week, whether it's the Bitcoin reserve they're doing, whether it's these agreements for NATO to pay more when during his first term, he was accused of wanting to end NATO. These are things that are long-term, not short-term. And Democrats can talk about the poll numbers slipping on the border issue, maybe by 1 or 2%, but their approval rating is in the 30s. And they're having a very hard time even figuring out where they stand as a party. So the president's doing pretty well. And also on the border issue, you know, it's easy to do the things on the surface, but when it comes to getting people out of these communities and the media onslaught of it's not fair to get rid of people here illegally, those are the hard things the president is doing. And they tap into people's emotions. But he's doing the things he said, and he set the bar for future politicians to campaign and then execute, not just campaign and then not do what they say.
Very interesting. Greg, what has been your favorite part of the 6 months of the golden age?
Well, there was that time I was in Miami. Was it Shakespeare who said the fish rots from the head? That's why her name is Karen Bass. It is amazing when a stupid person stumbles into the answer that they've always missed. It's like a blind person getting the Wheel of Fortune puzzle right. That's what happened when she said how awful it was that, you know, illegals are being, you know, faced with punitive measures. She actually said punitive as though that's a bad thing. Punitive measures is the exact bedrock of law and order. You discourage law breaking with punishment. How does a mayor just discover this and see it as a bad thing? I am convinced she's a complete cutout. She's not even real because everybody understands this basic principle. And if she doesn't, then it tells you why Democrats needed Trump more than Republicans did. Because if you notice, there really isn't a lot of pushback on Trump. I mean, you get the usual clowns on CNN, MSNBC, and the Adam Schiffs and the Jeffries. But for most Democrats and most people, everyone knew there had to be a change, but they also knew they couldn't do it themselves. They were too beholden to activists, special interests, identity groups, dogmatists. Trump gave them an out. He came in, I'll be the villain. You know what? I'll take the heat. I'll save women's sports. I'll close the border. I'll loosen up regulations so people can start making some money. And you can say that you hate it, even though you really like it. It's like when you wake up the next day and you're relieved that the bartender cut you off when he did. The libs needed somebody to cut them off because they couldn't do it themselves. And so now it's a twofer. They get to blame Trump and hate Trump and benefit from his policies. Meanwhile, the Dems are kind of like a softball machine. They're always throwing these big, fat, slow pitches. And Trump just wails them over the fence. You know, what did they do? They attacked him in the beginning about gas and eggs. Two things that you can fix right away, and he does. Then you have the tariff thing they said was terrible. Well, every week a new country comes to the table. He has a win like every 3 days. It's like a couple hundred countries, one after the other. Then if they come out and they say, oh my God, look on immigration, look at this Maryland dad, look at this woman who was kidnapped by ICE. And then you end up with a counter story, which is more devastating or real. You end up with a rapist being arrested, a pedophile being arrested, a gang member shooting a cop in the face. So every single thing that they do, he ends up having an answer for, and it's better. So I think that's why they're kind of relieved that the golden age is here.
When are you going back to Miami?
In a few weeks. Me and Will Kane are going. It's clothing optional.
Because that was my favorite week, too, when you were gone.
You guys.
Click here to subscribe to.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. All right, here we go. More on the 5.
Hunter Biden is going on a
Hunter, baby,
warpath
Hunter.
on the 1-year anniversary of his dad, Joe Biden, dropping out of the 2024 race. The felon's son raged against George Clooney and other Democrats who he believes undermined Pops.
Him and everybody around him. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. He's a brand. James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years. David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama. Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. What influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news.
I have a headache from all the beeping. Hunter also flying off the handle at the Americans who want to deport the millions of illegals his dad let into the country.
People are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here?
Everything he just mentioned, from doing dishes to cooking your food to cleaning your home, I do it by myself. I do those things myself. So you are a spoiled child, okay? You need someone to wipe you off when you're done with the bathroom. That's what you need. You are spoiled, bro. You can't even do the dishes. It's too hard to wash your own dish. Oh, look, the mansion is going to fall if I do my own dishes. Man, go do your dish, bro.
By the sheer just grit and will. If I became president, I would pick up the phone and call the president of El Salvador and say, you either send them back or I'm going to invade.
Okay, and while Hunter rages, we are learning how the DNC did an audit after action review of why Democrats lost the 2024 election, but conveniently doesn't mention Joe and Kamala. Well, Greg, I guess it's good that Hunter Biden is raging on a podcast instead of going to a rager in his carpet.
I have so many mixed feelings. First, he's talking about illegals. I seem to remember from a police report, he tried to get the police off his back over a missing gun by implicating illegals. Like he said, those guys over there, they're illegal. So he's not a saint when it comes there. But if you listen to him, what has Democrats been trying to do? All 6 months, try to be authentic. They try to fake swear, do a lot of theater. That's real swearing. You got to give it to him. That guy is authentic. He's the real deal. And dare I say, I like him. I get that he's defending Jim Joe, and Jim, his brother, right?
Yeah.
It's his dad. And I disagree with him on that. But he isn't wrong when he's going after the establishment. And I'm thinking Democrats, especially Carville. Carville said that they're looking for their savior. It's this guy. He's the most direct, honest person the party has. He's very likable. And you have to understand, you can say, oh, but he's a drug addict. You have to understand about drug addicts and alcoholics. That guy managed to make millions and millions of dollars while high. And that's the secret, is that you have to be super competent when you're a junkie or else people will disown you. So he actually works extra hard. If he's truly in recovery, he will be legitimately dangerous, just like RFK, who's beholden to no ideology whatsoever. That's my theory. I'm going with it. And you're welcome on my show.
There you go. Good. Open invite. So, Jesse, I actually think he has a point with a lot of this. I mean, they totally knifed Joe Biden and, said he couldn't win and tried to push him out for a month. And then when he didn't want to go, they kept leaking stories, and Nancy Pelosi came around, and, Clooney wrote that op-ed that finally got the ball moving. I mean, he's not wrong when he says they really didn't do much service.
When Roman emperors used to murder their political rivals, Katie, they used to not just murder the rival, they'd murder the entire family. Because if you leave the son alive, he'll spend the rest of his life seeking revenge. And they may have killed off Joe Biden, but Hunter Biden is very much alive. And make no mistake, everything he's saying is exactly what Joe Biden is thinking. This is Dark Brandon Jr. Greg's right. This is the guy the memo was about. This is a guy who doesn't give an F. He's macho. He's bold. To say that they're going to invade El Salvador to bring back the bad hombres, that's like left-wing Trump. This is what they've been looking for. Gavin Newsom doesn't have an ounce of that kind of swagger, because that is real.
I agree.
We are in agreement there. The problem with the Democratic Party, the autopsy, whatever you want to call it, they don't even want to talk about Biden. They don't want to see Joe. They don't want to see Hunter. But this guy is going to be on a revenge tour, the likes of which we've never seen. And his dad is writing a book. So they're never going to get rid of him. The only way they do it, Tom Homan has to deport the Biden family to go spend time with Irish Rosie. And I bet the Democrats would say, Tom, get him out.
Or they could call Hillary Clinton. I heard she knows a few people.
That's true.
Harold, on this autopsy report, can Democrats really move forward if they don't acknowledge Kamala and Joe's participation in the last election? Because people see it as a cover-up, including in the party. Or do you think they can just move forward without mentioning them?
We should just move forward and be honest. Now, I would remind everybody around the table, when President Trump ran in 2016, there had been an autopsy done by the Republican Party saying that they needed to appeal more after the loss to Barack Obama, that they needed to appeal more to African-American and Hispanic voters across the country. And President Trump, when he came down the escalator, had a very, very different theory of the case, as he talked about illegals here and rapists and thugs. And the Republican Party exploded. A lot of them, and I'll be nice about it, exploded in curiosity. Many of them exploded in anger. He connected. He knew what was going on in the country. People who win presidential races connect with voters. Now, I hope that I'm never in a position where my son has to defend me like Hunter did, but I admire someone who defends his dad. I defend my dad that way as well, and anyone that has a kid would want their son or their daughter defending them like this. But I would remind everybody, including Hunter, 2 or 3 other things. One, had we had a different opinion on the border, we might have won. We didn't. We were wrong on the border, and that was the most explosive issue in the campaign. Little boys playing in little girls' sports really, really rankled a lot of Americans, and we had no good answer on it. I would remind everyone that when Mr. Biden and Mr. Trump debated, Mr. Biden didn't look like he knew where he was. But that he was able to recover from had he done a good interview with George Stephanopoulos, and he didn't. So Democrats said, you can't do this. We need another candidate. Then you had Ms. Harris. Ms. Harris made the mistake of going on The View and being asked a very basic question in the middle of an election that was about change, and was asked, what would you have done differently? Anything you would do differently if you'd been president? She said, I can't think of anything we've done differently. In a change election, her name could have been Trump, Pence, Vance, Rubio, or Clinton. If you say that and you're running and you are what's happening that people don't like, you're not going to be voted for. Donald Trump lost in 2020 because people wanted to move on from that. So as much as I love the energy and the passion There's some basics in politics. You have to connect with people. You have to represent people.
Facts.
If Mr. Biden had done what he said he was going to do, would be a generational president and pass it on, we wouldn't be having the conversation we are right now. So as much as I admire the fire and the passion and the defense of your dad.
And I just got to say this right now. I got to say this right now. Just because it is spicy or it's getting clicks or people are more interested when you talk about it doesn't make it true. Most people say, well, LGBTQ community are really oppressed community. Okay, agreed. All right. But the black community can also say, well, we have been oppressed for hundreds of years and we built the United States. Agreed. White women can say, well, look, we don't have equality. Agreed. Did you know that white men in America, I don't even talk about colors, but the comment section is prompting me to talk about colors. So here we go. Did you know that the percentage of white men in America that die from drug overdose is higher than any demographic? Did you know that there are more poor white people in America than any demographic? Did you know that there are more poor and homeless white people in America than any demographic? But yet, I don't see protests on the street saying, well, please make sure these white people have some homes. Please feed them. We need a month for poor white folks. Nope. We don't want poor white men to keep dying of drug overdose. Nope, we don't. But as soon as they say black folks, everybody come to the street. Woo! Black men kill more black men in America than any demographic. Black on black crimes is the highest. But when a policeman arrests a black man and they show a video, oh no, this is racist. Just because you're talking about it doesn't make it true. Facts are facts. Okay? Everybody can cry victim. Everybody can cry victimization. Okay? Every single person in America, whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, we all can cry, we are victims. But are you going to live your life as a victim, or you're going to be grateful for the life that God has given you and fight for what you want and be grateful for life and push forward and stop looking for special treatment?
At the end of the day, the voters spoke.
Sandra, there's a lot of passion.
Passion. If I was cussing around the table, it'd be passion.
Not just once, like every 2 seconds.
I'm a diplomat, Sandra. I'm a diplomat.
I just keep thinking about the setup they did for the interview with this, YouTuber. He's got over 3 million subscribers. I guess he's pretty popular. And Hunter Biden, apparently he met him, had a good connection with him. They sat down for hours, but they sat in nature. It's a beautiful scene.
Is it weird for you to see him with his clothes on?
White picket fence.
Nice change.
White picket fence. And then he goes off and just is screaming and cussing to the point where we can't even air it in its entirety. I'll just say this because I know we're short on time. And unless the autopsy report also looks back and says, okay, all the increased regulation over that period of time made it impossible for small businesses in this country to thrive, unless they acknowledge the canceling of all of those federal oil leases all over the country that led to your high gas prices, unless the autopsy looks back at the attacking of the rich that greatly employs the lower to middle class, the American people who voted for Donald Trump are going to say nothing has changed with the Democrat Party.
You know what this autopsy is like? It's like a celebrity autopsy when they cite the cause of death as heart disease, hypertension, blood clots, liver failure. But underneath it all is one cause, in the case like chronic lifelong alcoholism. There is an underlying cause to what they are identifying as the secondary causes, and it's always going to be this identity politics, which they weaponized into warfare.
Yeah, there's a policy problem. We will watch. All right, up next, the libs say democracy is.
And when I say the facts, people say, well, he's a coon, he's a this, he's a that. Yes. Yes. Everything that you call me, I am. What are you going to do? Nothing. That's all you do. Talk and talk while you're listening to a yes master, a slave, whatever. I wasn't even born in the United States, so whatever trauma you got going on, I don't even know about it because I was born in a place where everybody looks like me. So you have a trauma that I don't have. That doesn't mean I don't have my own traumas as well. But what you're talking about, he's a slave. I don't even know all that stuff. Okay? I don't even think like that. Okay? To me, you are a human being. That doesn't mean that you don't have whatever differences the other person has. So when you say, well, he's a coon. Okay, great. What next do you have?
All right, this Fox News alert to Hunter Biden raising eyebrows in this shocking, new, wide-ranging interview. He also tears into the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. He says, quote, people are really upset about illegal immigration. Blank you. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you have food on your effing table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Let's bring in Fox News contributor and the host of the Hugh Hewitt Show on Fox News Radio, Hugh Hewitt. Hugh, I want to get first your reaction to what we've heard so far. Just doing some digging on Andrew Callahan. This was a 3+ hour long interview. This particular YouTube channel, Channel 5, very popular. It's got over 3.15 million subscribers. We're hearing they met briefly before they sat down for this interview. So perhaps there was some level of trust, but it's wide ranging. And he defends illegal immigration in that way. What is your response to what you just heard there?
That Hunter Biden doesn't know much about illegal immigration. Hi, Sandra. Just quick note. I'm on the Salem network, not the Fox network. I am a Fox contributor, however, and proud to be one. I believe the problem is that Hunter Biden doesn't know much about anything other than his old life and how he used to get alcohol and drugs. And about that, he is an authority. He ought not to have been advising his president, his father as president. He ought not to have been involved in anything to do with the White House. He's a convicted felon, and he does not know anything about illegal immigration. He is correct that many illegal immigrants work very hard. Doesn't mean they should stay in the country. That's a long and extended debate about that. I did read some other excerpts in this long interview. I'm not going to watch 3 hours of, I hope, a recovering addict and alcoholic tell me what he thinks ought to be happening in the country. But he clearly doesn't know anything about immigration. He is clearly desperate for attention. And here's my theory, Sandra. No one else in the family can make money now. The pipeline's been cut off, both for Uncle James and for every other Biden that was riding the train. Hunter is trying to become something so he can go out and get speaking gigs. But he's not that interesting, because he was mostly stoned or drunk or on drugs for most of his adult life, doing horrible things. So I'm just going to put it in that basket of the people who have been discredited, who ought never to be listened to about anything. And his comments about immigration, he might as well be talking about going to Mars. He might as well be talking about deep sea exploration. He doesn't know anything.
Well, he seems to know why Joe Biden dropped out of the race. He said he did the most selfless thing I had known of any politician in the history of this effing country. He stepped aside to save the party, says his son. On Kamala Harris running for president, he says, and in that void filled the only person that he would ever endorse out of the gate, because he chose her as vice president. There's no choice in that. And by the way, I love Kamala Harris. I think that she would have made an incredible president. Your reaction to both of those bits of the interview?
Well, there have been 3 exhaustive books on what happened when President Biden stepped aside. The first was by John Allen and Amy Parnes, called Fight. The second was by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, called Original Sin. And the most recent by Josh Dawsey and 2 other colleagues, called 2024. It's detailed every day from June 27th, the night of his disastrous debate, to his announcement that he was stepping out. It actually was inevitable that he had to go, because Nancy Pelosi stabbed him in the back and Chuck Schumer stabbed him in the front. And every Democrat was going to call on him to get out. All the money ran out because the entire Democratic campaign, and many people knew this for 9 months and longer, realized he could not win, and indeed he would drag down even more Democrats than went down with Kamala Harris. So again, Hunter Biden is wrong. Hunter Biden doesn't know anything, and he's a son defending his father, and that's all expected and honorable, but he doesn't know anything, and I would not listen to him about anything because he is, of course, a discredited witness. He's also a felon.
Hugh, I also want to get your reaction to the DNI sending this criminal referral, as we've been reporting at the top of the hour, to the DOJ over this 2016 plot. This is DNI's Gabbard explaining those documents that she now has and what they show about Obama officials during that time. Listen here.
We had a sitting president of the United States and his cabinet and leadership team, quite frankly, who were not happy with the fact that President Trump had won the election. And so they decided that they would do everything possible to try to undermine his ability to do what voters tasked President Trump to do.
It's really interesting. Matt Taibbi then takes this on, obviously an investigative journalist, asked why there wasn't more urgency on this during Trump's first term, as we are now hearing during his second term. And he said this, Hugh.
A former high-ranking Trump official said there was, quote, so much corruption in the last Trump presidency that this shouldn't have been overlooked, that these documents should have come out. Absolutely. But the overall sense I get is that everyone's happy that they finally are coming out.
So she's releasing 100 pages of these documents that would reveal that the Obama administration, Hugh, had quietly concluded that Russia never impacted the 2016 elections vote totals via these cyber attacks. What are you thinking about where this goes?
Apples and oranges. On the one hand, we know that Russia definitely tried to disrupt our election. They weren't necessarily pro-Trump or pro-Clinton. They were trying to sow discord, and that's been agreed to by everyone. As your lead-in noted, Secretary Rubio was then Senate Chair of Intel, who said, yes, they're definitely screwing around our election. The question, did anyone help them, in which case there would be criminal charges? John Durham was a special counsel. He investigated for years. He could find nothing. Maybe he didn't have these documents, but I want to caution people against using the word treason. Treason's got a very specific definition in the Constitution, Article 3, Section 3. That's not this. There might be some 18 U.S.C. 1001 false statement acts coming in here where you could charge people with it. But the statute of limitations is running out on all that stuff. Russia was a hoax. It hurt Donald Trump badly. It was, I think, perpetrated by John Brennan, James Comey, and Jim Clapper. I think they knew what they were doing. But I don't know that these new documents are going to do anything other than shock people who are already shocked by the behavior of the IC at that time. But I don't think it's going to prove treason, but they are in the right hand, DOJ. And I hope, if anyone's got questions, that they just name another special counsel or bring back Special Counsel Durham and have him go about doing what he did. He already knows the backstory. Give him the 100 pages that Director Gabbard found and said, does this change your idea? He could not get any convictions of significance the first time around. These documents might change his mind. I doubt it very much.
We'll see if the special counsel is the case as this goes on. Hugh, thank you very much. We appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the live show. Yo, y'all be too funny in the comment section. All right, here we go. Yes. Jesse Waters.
Happy one-year anniversary to the day Democrats pulled off the coup of the century. They thought 86ing Joe from the ticket would erase his wretched legacy and make room for fresh blood to take out Trump. But neither of those things wound up happening. You know, in ancient Roman times, when emperors had their rivals taken out, they would make sure to have their whole families killed too, especially the sons, because the sons will make it their life's duty to avenge their father's death. The machine may have killed the big guy, but Hunter is very much alive, and he's out for blood. The first son on his revenge tour. First stop, George Clooney.
Him and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president.
Oh, man, he was just getting started. Next up, James Carville and the entire Obama cabal that thought they could puppeteer the party from off stage.
And James Carville, who hasn't run a race in 40 years, and David Axelrod, who had one success in his political life, and that was Barack Obama. And that was because of Barack Obama, not because of David Axelrod. And David Plouffe, and all of these guys, and the Pod Save America guys, who were junior speechwriters in, on Barack Obama's Senate staff, who have been dining out on the relationship with him for years, making millions of dollars. The Anita Dunns of the world, who's made $40-50 million off the Democratic Party. They're all going to insert their judgment over a man who has figured out, unlike anybody else, how to get elected to the United States Senate over 7 times.
Hunter isn't just trying to bury Obama's people. He went on another podcast and crucified the Messiah himself.
We all talk about the incredible popularity of Barack Obama. Barack Obama never got more than 69 million votes. My dad got 81 million votes. What is the one thing that drives Obama more crazy about my dad than anything? It's when he sits around and he continues to talk to people in a crowd, because then he can't also leave the stage at the same time.
That's exactly
and he never likes hanging around.
He doesn't. He doesn't like taking it. He doesn't like rope lines. He doesn't like to take the pictures.
Then Hunter name-checked Chuck and Nancy, saying the Democrat Party has been hijacked by rich white elites with no respect for his dad's blue-collar roots.
What the Democratic Party proved is they have no guts. I mean, by the way, I say party. The elite white people that donate to the colleges, the people that donate to the, multi-million-dollar checks to the DNC and the DCCC and the DSCC, the Schumer people and the Pelosi people and those people, the controlling interest of the corporate side of the Democratic Party.
The old white elites big-footed Biden out of the race, but that was only half the battle. They didn't want Kamala to be the nominee, but Harris had the last laugh.
You know who did not want Kamala Harris to be president and did not want her to be the nominee? Nancy Pelosi didn't want her to be. None of Nancy Pelosi's people wanted her to be. They wanted an open convention. They wanted a floor fight. They wanted I don't know what the hell they wanted, but they wanted to be the ones to anoint whoever they were going to anoint to become the next president of the United States.
But Hunter still thinks if it wasn't for all of the machines meddling, Kamala would have stayed and Joe would have just had to win re-election without a hitch. If it wasn't for Nancy Pelosi, who he called a snake, Trump wouldn't have been in the White House again.
And you would have the Speaker Emeritus that would say, well, I'm going to leave it up to, but I don't know. And they had already made a decision. They had clearly made a decision. And when I say they, I mean the Speaker. And, I heard Alexandra Pelosi say something, call my like, put your big girl pants on to my mom or something. And I kind of feel like saying, who the do you think you are?
Hunter says Nancy had it all wrong. His dad's brain was never a problem. He just popped too many Ambien before the debate.
I'll tell you what, I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, and the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times. Yeah. He's 81 years old. He's tired as shit. They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights. And it feeds into every story that anybody wants to tell.
Biden came back to the U.S. on June 14th and spent the whole week leading up to the debate napping at Camp David. I doubt the big guy was given Ambien the night before facing off with Trump, but Dr. O'Connor pled the fifth, so we'll never know what he was given. But unlike Joe, Hunter's wide awake and going after Jake Tapper for cashing in on his dad's downfall.
Jake Tapper with literally how many anonymous sources? If this was a conspiracy, Andrew, you know this, somehow the entirety of a White House in which you literally living on top of each other has kept their mouth shut about, like what? And what's conspiracy? Yeah. That Joe Biden got old? Yeah, he got old. He got old before our eyes. The people that came out against him were who? Nobody, except Speaker, Pelosi. What influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that, I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to after he put the book out. You know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab.
Tapper should have known. Only Hunter's allowed to make money off the Biden name. And make no mistake, everything that Hunter's saying here is exactly how his dad feels. The former president absolutely signed off on his son settling scores and burning down what's left of the establishment. Remember, nobody F's with a Biden, not even the DNC. We just learned the Democrat National Committee is running its own autopsy, but refuses to say anyone fumbled the bag when it came to Joe and Kamala's campaigns. Quote, party officials described the draft document as focusing on the 24 election as a whole, but not on the presidential campaign, which is something like eating at a steakhouse and then reviewing the salad. But Hunter doesn't think the Democrats are dead just yet. And he's leaving the door open for a knight in shining armor to sweep in and lead the party to the promised land.
Do you think the Democratic Party's dead?
No, I don't think the Democratic Party's dead. I think that there's some really incredible leaders in the Democratic Party. Someone will emerge. There will be a leader that will emerge.
Isn't it obvious? The Democrats have been saying since November that the party needs a real man with real energy and swagger, someone who tells it like it is, who drops F-bombs and knows how to get attention. Where's Hunter? He's been hiding in plain sight. Dark Brandon Jr. is a man on a mission. What better way to avenge your father's political assassination than to win the nomination that the party stole from him and usher in another era of Bidenomics? Biden the younger could be just what the party needs to confront its ugly past and absolve
Hunter Biden,
political sins. Click here.
Hunter Biden is cooking, yo. He is cooking. All right, let's see. Let's do one more before I go to my appointment. I will be back here soon, but let's do one more. Here we go. Hannity.
And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the owner of the famous West Coast In-N-Out Burger, the home of Double Animal Style, fleeing California? Kinda. Anyway, and WNBA players, they are now demanding more money. Will their strategy work? And big breaking news from the Department of Justice. Officials there are confirming to Fox News tonight the receipt of criminal referrals surrounding the, quote, manufactured and politicized intelligence used to create the Russia hoax. So, who could be implicated in this plot to upend a free and fair election and undermine a sitting U.S. president? According to the Director of National Intelligence, that would be Tulsi Gabbard, all eyes are on Comey, Brennan, and even former President himself, Barack Hussein Obama. Former Trump Chief of Staff Mark Meadows and House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, they will join us with all the details. But we begin tonight with a look inside the dumpster fire that is the Democratic Party. So sad. Sadly, there are very few, if any, rational people in that party. After a decade of Trump derangement syndrome, Democrats, they are totally, completely broken. Thank you, Donald Trump. Even James Carville acknowledging this in the New York Times, quote, constipated, leaderless, confused, a cracked out clown car divided. Now, these are the words I hear my fellow Democrats using to describe our party as of late. The truth is, they're not wrong. The Democratic Party is in shambles. And tonight, some just can't get past their hatred of all things Donald Trump to do anything of value, nothing. Others, they, on the left, they have religiously adopted and are clinging to this bizarre woke belief system. They're doubling down on Marxism, statism, socialism. And then there are those who have gone full, complete Marxist, communist, statist. And last but not least, there is a small group of Democrats still haunting the entire country. Tonight, the Biden family is not sailing off quietly into the sunset. In fact, zero experience Hunter Biden is back. He has a lot to say. He's not a happy camper. As a matter of fact, he's bitterly angry. First, he's now trying to rewrite a piece of history that we all witnessed with our very own eyes, even blaming Ambien on his father's significant cognitive state. Take a look.
I know exactly what happened in that debate. He flew around the world, basically, and the mileage that he could have flown around the world 3 times.
Yeah.
He's 81 years old. He's tired as They give him Ambien to be able to sleep. He gets up on the stage, and he looks like he's a deer in the headlights.
Oh, they gave him Ambien before he got on stage. I don't believe that myself, but you decide. Now, pretty strange thing to say. Meanwhile, Hunter also had some very choice words for Georgie Clooney. We might have this in common. I'm not fond of George, not fond of his wife, not fond of their position on Israel. Take a look.
Him, and everybody around him. I don't have to be nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney is not a actor. He is a I don't know what he is. He's a brand. And by the way, and God bless him. You know what? He supposedly treats his friends really well. You know what I mean? Buys them things. And he's got a really great place in Lake Como. And he's great friends with Barack Obama. You, what do you have to do with anything? Why do I have to listen to you? What right do you have to step on a man who's given 52 years of his life to the service of this country and decide that you, George Clooney, are going to take out basically a full-page ad in the New York Times to undermine the president?
I don't know why I like that so much. I just did. The president's son then ripped into the one and only fake Jake Tapper. Take a look.
Who's Jake Tapper's audience? Jake Tapper?
My mom or something? I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
For real, though. I don't even think it's your mom anymore.
No,
because by the numbers, what influence does Jake Tapper have over anything? He has the smallest audience on cable news. And beyond that,
man.
I think that the book is right now on Amazon that he put out. I mean, his ratings just went to after he put the book out. And, you know, they did a 2-week infomercial for it. I mean, it was such a money grab, such a disservice to everybody that he serves with, that the journalism that he purports to take part in.
Let me get this straight. Did I just hear Hunter talking about money grabs, zero experience on the border? Burisma goes on Good Morning America, no experience in energy, oil, gas, or Ukraine or China, but does these big energy deals? Did I just hear that right? I don't know. And during another interview, zero experience Hunter also raged at Nancy Pelosi. This is too good to not show. Take a look.
And you would have the Speaker Emeritus that would say, well, you know, I'm going to leave it up to, but I don't know. And they had already made a decision. They had clearly made a decision. And when I say they, I mean the speaker. And, you know, I heard Alexandra Pelosi say something, call my like, put your big girl pants on to my mom or something. And I kind of feel like saying, who the do you think you are? I would never speak about your mom that way.
Yeah.
I would never speak about your father that way. I would never insult your parents that way. Even to this day, I would never refer to the speaker as anything but speaker.
I have an offer for zero experience Hunter. Come on the program. We'll do a full hour on this show, face to face. You can come on my radio show. We'll do a full 3 hours. You can curse as much as you want. And we'll have to bleep it, though. Anyway, despite his hatred for almost everyone in his own party, Hunter is still a devout Democrat and just can't shake up his own Trump derangement syndrome. Lucky for him, Daddy gave zero experience the preemptive pardon. Take a look.
All these Democrats say, you have to talk about and realize that people are really upset about illegal immigration. You. How do you think your hotel room gets cleaned? How do you think you got food on your table? Who do you think washes your dishes? Who do you think does your garden? Who do you think is here by the sheer just grit and will that they figured out a way to get here because they thought that they could give themselves and their family a better chance? And he's somehow convinced all of us that these people are criminals. White men in America are 45 more times likely to commit a violent crime than an immigrant.
Actually, let's point something out, that most people don't have millions and millions of dollars, even though they had no experience. So all the work that he mentioned, a lot of people do it themselves, Hunter. But we could talk about that on this show if you come. It's an open invitation. It is obvious that almost all Democrats want totally open borders, unlimited illegal immigration, zero deportation. Here's another example from over the weekend. Apparently, the L.A. Mayor, Karen Bass, thinks the president has done nothing right at the border. Take a look.
Is there anything good you think the administration has done in these 6 months at the border?
Well, I will heap praise on the administration for the first 6 months in Los Angeles with the fires. If you ask me, is there anything that they have done good in terms of immigration? I don't know. I don't think so. I think that the viewpoint has been punitive, has been let's make it as miserable as possible so that these people don't come.
And whatever they're doing is certainly working at the border itself. We were down on that border, and it is dramatically different than it was a year ago.
All right, this is a radicalized, destructive Democratic Party with bizarre motivations. For example, former Transportation Secretary, our friend, Mayor Pothole Pete, allowed important infrastructure to crumble while he was spending a whopping $80 billion on DEI grants. And meanwhile, our air traffic control systems are from the 50s and 60s. He delayed air traffic control upgrades. Your safety for DEI? You know, now Pothole Pete desperately wants to be the president of our country. And in New York City, Marxist Zoran Mamdani desperately wants to be the mayor of America's biggest city. But like any good communist, Marxist Mamdani can't bring himself to work too hard. In fact, he just skipped town in the middle of his campaign for a vacation back to his home country, Uganda. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, I found this the most interesting news of the day. He's also running for mayor. He said if he loses, he himself might be fleeing to the free state of Florida, following me down here. Actually, Andrew, don't give up. You stay in New York regardless of the outcome. You continue to pay your taxes. Remember you said tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. We did, and they left. Anyway, he won't be alone. I predict it will be a prison break. New York
prison break what?
Desperately needs strong, sane leadership, not woke Marxism. Just this weekend, an off-duty Border Patrol officer was shot in the face during a botched robbery in New York City park. But as of earlier today, Mamdani was totally silent about that shooting. After all, he's on vacation. Hey, Sean Hannity.
So, firstly, I got to say that first of all, we should come together as one. Democrat, Republicans, it don't matter. All right? It does not matter. What matters is you are American, and it is America before parties. Okay? So pointing fingers, I get it. We're trying to make a point. We are trying to make a point. However, you have to understand that it is country first. Of course, everybody knows it is God Almighty, King of Kings first above all things. But when it comes to country, I'm saying country first before parties, okay? So don't think you are a Democrat before you are American, or a Republican before you are American. So with that being said, when people talk about immigration, the Trump administration has only spoken about illegal immigration, all right? And I came into this country legally, all right? Every legal immigrant would tell you they do not support illegal immigration, and that's just a fact. That is a fact. And going back to what we spoke about concerning most drug overdoses. So here, according to CDC, right, in both 2021 and 2022, rates were highest for American Indian and Alaska Native people, and the lowest were among Asian people. All right. So just wanted to clarify that part with you guys. But for the most part, look, everybody has something to say. All right. And I'm always open to listening to people as long as you're being respectful. But I mean, who cares? Whatever you want to say, say. All right. It is your right to be able to state your opinions. So just be whoever you are, but be rest assured that it is country before party. All right. With that being said, Instead of looking for perfection, seek for consistency. Never give up on yourself. Never give up on your dreams. Never give up on God. Believe in yourself. Believe in your dreams. And believe in Almighty God. It is your boy Genesis. You are currently tuned into The Genesis Show. I have to go. I have an appointment by 9:40. It is currently 9:18 a.m. And of course, today's date is the 24th of July, 2025. Good morning, America. Have a good time. I will be back here and love, okay? Love your neighbors, okay? Because look, y'all be wilding in the comment section. Shout out to our esteemed members, Dr. Luke, the GOAT, Ellie, Ingram, Sandra, Ringmaster. Shout out to our moderators as well. Terry Vinings, the Bama girl. God bless you. Thank you for being here. I saw Zyros Garden earlier on, but I think he's not here anymore. But anyway, shout out to Too Strong for Life. Shout out to everybody who tuned in. We will be back. All right. See you soon.